we create these human constructs and words for why we're doing it. And then actually it's there. And what I'm starting to witness amongst myself and a lot of our close friends is that we do that as a statement to like, I want to step into the embodiment of this thing.
Mm.
Right.
Like, it's like jumping in the pool and saying, I'm going to have to learn how to swim.
This is The Deep Dive with Adam Roa.
What is up, Deep Divers? Hello, hello. This is another Deep Dive Live. The guest today is Jared Grantham. Jared is someone, let's see, I like starting these off with where we met. We knew of each other. Let's put it this way. We knew of each other for a while. One of my favorite things about Jared is we've become friends, but we've continued to be fans of each other. That's a really big deal. Jared used to listen to my podcast, but like before we met. So he's been begging me to come on here for so long. I finally just said, let's do it. And and so, but there is a quality to that, which is one of the best things is being a fan of your friends. And Jared is someone I've been a fan of personally, and has blossomed into someone who has a material mastery of business and things, and has combined that with a really deep spiritual, I won't call it mastery because it's infinite, but a spiritual understanding and practice that is incredibly admirable. The level at which he dives in to the discomfort and faces off with himself and is radically honest with himself is inspiring to me. And whenever you find someone who has both those things, the material stuff figured out and a spiritual practice that you really find inspiring, that's a special person. And so Jared, thank you for coming on the Deep Dive with me, doing it live in front of our Create community audience. It's a pleasure to have you here, bro.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And it's good to be here with the entire family. It feels like a beautiful, like a barbecue almost. We're going to just chat in front. So it was great.
And so I feel like the best place for us to start is something that we've both had in common that a lot of people have experienced and are experiencing. You and I have both gone through periods of depression. Pretty intense periods of depression. And on the heels of that, and even through it, one thing that you and I both did was say, we are going to feel all of this. And just feel all and dive into the feelings and the emotions in a way it's incredibly scary and can be a lot. And there are people on the planet right now that are experiencing a lot, and the desire is maybe to run from it. And so I'd love if you'd open up around your perspective towards really intense emotions and how you started to work through that and your relationship to them now.
Totally. Yeah. So this has been a very, very powerful journey, as many of us know. For most of us, not just men, it isn't normal to allow us to fully feel our emotions, right? And we have unhealthy habits around it. And growing up, I had what I would deem as pretty exceptional parents. They were pretty great. I mean, we had our challenges as well, but definitely emotions weren't something that was celebrated in the household. And I think for me personally, I wound myself up with what looked like a good upbringing, ended up heavily involved with drugs and many other things that were unhealthy for my life, right? And when I've been observing my timeline recently, what I actually realized is I was actually going through depression in and out of my life from the time I was about 18. From 18 all the way through 28, I was in and out of depression. I've also experienced PTSD, severe panic disorder as well. But depression was the theme that kept coming back, that kind of led me to the further and deeper trauma. And one of the moments, I suppose, that was really pivotal for me. I mean, there was three kind of larger moments. One was 23. I was actually in America, New York City, trying to make some money. I was in apparently the quote unquote hardest city to make money in the world. And if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere, kind of thing. And I was done. I was sleeping in a car, crying myself to sleep. literally scrounging around for coins to support myself, to eat a cheeseburger from Hungry Jack's or Burger King. And that's how I was living. And the year before that, I had 150 grand in the bank. And I did this kind of cycle. So what's fascinating is, for me, money and emotions and all these things were intertwined. And my emotional state used to match the amount of money I had in my account, right? So for whatever reason, that was part of my soul's journey. And within that, it bears so many lessons, because I was Mr. Cool. I was out in the scene. I had status. Everyone knew who I was. I had all this money from the time I was a very young man. I was making quite a bit of money. And then I would have those periods where I would spend it all on drugs, on women, on Vegas, on whatever it was. And then I'd be flat. I'd be in debt. I'd be in tax debt. I'd be in behind on my car payments, behind on rent. And this led me to this tumultuous kind of up and down within my emotional state. And then eventually it got to the point when I was 28 where I had this larger, call it larger awakenings. I believe at 23, 25, and 28 were my biggest awakenings. But this one ended in a relationship. And what I'd known, because I'd been through so much emotionally, I started to numb myself even more. By the time I was 27, what I thought was emotional intelligence was actually emotionally numb. And, and I know many can relate to that, because we think we're emotionally intelligent. However, we're not actually feeling any emotion or giving ourselves space to connect with any emotion. And what I've learned through my deep dive, and a beautiful yoga teacher once said to me when I was in the midst of my most painful dark night of the soul about 5 years ago, was she said to me, for you to heal, you're going to need to feel. And for me personally, I take people literally. So I'm like the type of person that's like, I need to feel. That's the thing to do. Cool. I schedule it into my diary every single morning for 30 minutes. I'm feeling my emotions. That was what I was doing. And I would sit, I would breathe, I would sit in meditation. I would do some yoga sometimes in the morning. And then I would just let myself be deeply in the present moment and then just feel. And I now say that my emotions and breath work are my two greatest teachers, because with that, they've taught me how to truly experience life. And I know that you can resonate in so many ways, Adam, and this cycle of depression continues to arise in our life when we're not in alignment with where we're actually meant to be, creating, expressing, and actually living the life that's here for us. So it's been a gift. And I believe that the depth to which I've held myself in the emotions like deep sorrow, abandonment, guilt, shame, fear, is equal to the ability to be able to hold vibrations of bliss, abundance, joy, and actually manifest from this. And I believe that the more that we cultivate and deeply connect with our emotions, it actually expands our energetic container so we can actually hold more. Right?
Yeah.
And the more, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that the more polarity we allow ourselves to experience, the bigger our container gets. And the bigger our container gets, we can hold higher frequencies for a longer time. Yeah.
Yeah. So man, thank you for sharing that. There's so many different places. I feel like I could go based on what you just said.
Take me everywhere.
one of those things is what you just ended on, where you're talking about. Okay, I can tie two of the pieces together here. So we refer to emotions as energy. Right. The emotion is just energy in motion, emotion. It is when you feel angry, there is energy moving through your body. And that particular energy has a particular frequency to it. It has a particular feel to it. Your body responds to it in a certain way. Same with sadness, same with happiness and joy, etc. My personal belief, and Jared, maybe you weigh in on this, is that when we expand our ability to feel, we are expanding our ability to feel. It's not like you expand your ability to feel happy and you just can feel more happiness now. You're a bucket of energy. And when you expand your ability to love more deeply, you are expanding your ability at the exact same moment to feel more sadness or more pain or more anger, or you are expanding the capacity of yourself to hold more energy, to experience more frequency. And that also aligns with your ability to call in more everything else that's energy, right? Like money, for example. And so expanding that, and I think that there's a misconception often within personal development spaces that by developing your emotional intelligence, that you're going to like just develop the top end of the spectrum of happiness and joy, and that you're going to be able to feel more of that. But in reality, what happens is your heart opens, and that's to all emotion. And the only reason that is scary for people is because there's this idea that sadness is somehow wrong, like you're doing personal development wrong if you're sad. But in reality, it's learning to expand your container for all of the energy and therefore the emotion you can experience in general. True or false, Jared? True or false?
False. No. No, it's definitely true. And yeah, I just want to add before I dive into that, there's what I'm witnessing, right? Because I am a very sensitive being, and witnessing on social media and media alike is the world essentially is going through the dark night of the soul, right? So they've been given an opportunity for an awakening, and I believe that a lot of people in this particular community understand that. And on the other side of it, if we play full out, if we allow ourselves to dance in this arena, and we don't spiritually bypass, and we don't go, oh, the world's fucked up, and we go into a negative cycle, we actually have access to a depth of feeling that we haven't access to before. I know that astrologically right now we're supported more than ever. And during this time, for the last 3 years, Abby and I have been showing up, we've been serving humanity, we've been doing their thing, we've gone full power. And my astrologer's like, yeah, I can see it in your chart. I can see that you, for the last 2.5, 3 years, you've been doing the thing. What you set out to do, you've lived your purpose. And I dropped into a conversation with her, and I said, what would you recommend for the next 3 months? And she's like, stillness. And I'm like, okay. Okay. She's like, because who you're going to need to be 6 months from now is a more embodied leader. So you get to go inwards. You get to have this process, right? And as I've shared with you plenty of times, Adam, like I've used this opportunity myself to go, holy shit, if I've done that already and I've become this human, this level of evolution for Jared Grantham, what else is in there? Right? What else can I experience? And for those that are into spirituality and understand that we can all feel the collective energy. The feeling of the collective energy is one thing, but also that also gives you access to feeling more of your own emotion. So amongst this what I've perceived as people saying, oh, I'm feeling the collective energy, it's a lot of energy, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, cool, I want to find out what's mine. What do I get to own? Right. And what I've found more than anything in my entire life is, and Adam and I spoke about this the other day, is that people are asking me how I am. So I don't hold back of saying it's been an emotional week, right? There's been a lot to process, right, for myself. But what I've found access to in especially the last 3 months with deeper practice is, this is exciting. Like, this is like, I've gone through, like, I mean, the COVID thing hit, right? There was the deepest amount of fear I've experienced in my body ever. My fear of my own mortality, right? And the fear for humanity, right? But when I was telling the story during it, people were like, why do you sound kind of excited about it? And I'm like, because I know that myself and the rest of us are going to expand in this time. I know that those that choose to buy into, that choose to like step into this, their life will be changed forever. Their relationship with fear will evolve so much. And my quote is, felt fear becomes courage, right? So felt fear becomes courage. And I know that I saw the opportunity because my greatest awakening was severe panic disorder, having panic attacks for up to 3 hours, 4 times a day. Like, it was literally half my life I was in panic attack. My hands would curl over, my neck would curl over. I'd be in this state where I was inebriated, and I couldn't talk, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't speak to anybody, I couldn't work, I couldn't do anything. Right. And it would come on at random times. I'd be at lunch with friends and I would just fucking run out of the restaurant. It would be so intense. Right. But that was the most extraordinary time of my life, because who I became from my ability to take that yoga teacher's advice and feel it and go, I need to actually feel the fear, because the resistance comes from fighting it. Right. So for the rest of us, for the collective, for humanity right now, the main advice I've been giving, besides all the other generic BS that's out there, is actually give yourself the space to feel what's actually happening in your body and own it, because this is the gift that's here for you. And I think that I've found this space, and I've been encouraging the people really close to me to really find that space within them, to actually bring that. It almost feels like you're bringing joy to sadness. That's kind of what it feels like, right? Because there's this level of acceptance that's just like, oh, I know that because everything is love. Like everything is just an expression of love. Unconditional love is like it's like kind of like mother ayahuasca kind of thing in essence, right? Like love is the ultimate feeling and vibration, and sadness, guilt, fear, hurt, joy, bliss, ecstasy. These are all reflections of love. So coming into it with the frequency of love, going, this may be quote unquote painful, but is that bad, or have we made that bad? Right. And that's been a really interesting way to perceive it all, because and as you've experienced plenty, and a lot of this tribe have as well, is that very often we make the work heavy. It has to be heavy. I have to struggle. It has to be painful. It has to go on forever. I have to be in a deep process so often. And part of my reason for wanting to call it master my emotions to the level that I can in this very moment is to be able to teach it, because the gifts that I've received are unmatchable. The fulfillment I've received from that outweighs the incredible business, the money, the impact. That fulfillment that I experienced from deeply becoming like an emotional alchemist within, I feel like I truly know myself. So then from that space, exactly,
you freed yourself, like sovereignty.
Exactly. And then from that place, from that relationship with self, we no longer react to the world, we respond. When we respond, we actually create what's actually for us, as opposed to what we think we should be doing. And anytime we do what we think we should be doing, we end up going the other direction. We end up going away from the vision of the new earth. We end up going away from who we want to become. We're going away from our actual purpose. So that the ability to be in the kind of the vortex of your emotions and understand what's unfolding and feel it deeply, and build a relationship where it's completely safe to be in your body when you're angry, when you're afraid, in any emotion. Because on the other side of the spectrum is people don't feel safe to feel success either. People have a big win. Either they'll be within a relationship and they'll experience more love than ever, and they'll sabotage it because they try and leave their body. They do things that aren't their true self, and this goes in so many ways,
So I think Kevin posed a question here too, talking about you mentioned that you were out of alignment at the time when you were really going through it, and something that brought up for me was I realized after my on the heels. So I feel personally, let's put it this way, and I don't know if you feel the same. I feel like I will never be depressed again like that. Like I can feel deeply. I'm not, but I feel like I cracked the code around how to be with emotions at that level in a way where I feel fairly confident to say that, and anything's possible. But I do feel that. I don't know if that's the same for you, but that's what I feel. And part of that was an acceptance of realizing that I was trying to rationalize what I was feeling at the time. Basically meaning I was feeling something was off in my life, just in general, a overall feeling of something's not right. And I was in a relationship at the time. I was actually out in Bali going through it when you and I went to the spa together and everything. And we were talking about it. And I was saying how I, something wasn't right. Something wasn't right, but on paper, I shouldn't feel this way. On paper, here's this woman who loves me and who I love, and everything seems to be great. And here's this, and I have money and I have this, and I'm in Bali. Like on paper, I shouldn't feel this way. And there was a trying to figure it out. And the shift for me came in no longer trying to figure it out and simply just saying, this is what it is. And I'm going to just feel it all and be with it without trying to decipher it, without trying to figure it out. And then on the tail end of that, as we've had conversations offline about it, I began to see all the ways in which the relationship I was in isn't actually a match for what I want. And the things that I was doing at the time weren't actually my highest excitement. And I was able to see them in hindsight. And so what I've developed since then is realizing that anyone who's in depression, and by the way, there is a neurochemistry to depression. Like people's like it may be, I want to speak this because sometimes in the spiritual communities it can get lost. I think there is a time and place for antidepressants. I think that helping regulate chemistry in the body, for example, so that the person can get to a baseline that allows them to develop the practices necessary. That's kind of the framework for me of around when like Western pharmaceuticals might be called for. However, with that said, I personally believe that the shift is in realizing that if you are depressed, if you're incredibly unhappy, if there's a lot of pain and sadness each and every day for you, something is out of alignment in your life. And you might look at things and be like trying to figure out, but it doesn't actually matter. You can't see it, but something is out of alignment in your life, whether it's your relationship, your job, your friends, where you live, whatever. And I've taken on this perspective now that instead of trying to figure out what it is, the first spot for me is if I'm in a space like that, I just put it all on the table and say something's out of alignment. Now it's about figuring out what that is, but something is. That's where this depression, this sadness, this whatever is stemming from.
I agree with you. Did I ever tell you that when you speak, you turn me on, Adam? Have I ever told you that? I think I may have at some point. There's this beautiful conviction, and there's a conviction, but there's a layer of compassion in there as well. It really resonates. So yeah.
Great. If only you were a young, beautiful single woman that I've never stopped talking.
Yeah, totally.
I can go a different direction. I got you flustered. Everyone can see it.
Yeah. You got me. Like the estrogen's now in my brain. It's floating around. My cycles come online. I'm like, I don't know who I am anymore. Like, it's
well, I think go ahead.
I was gonna say I'll just micro touch on that just to kind of close that loop, because what you shared was really powerful, and I know that the mechanism that you used was deeper layers of self-introspection. I know that you've always had a practice of like journaling, meditation, breath work, and multiple different modalities as well. And I remember you saying to me on the phone one day, you're like, it was the greatest solution was actually just going to the next level with self-love, right? Of just like literally treating myself in such an incredible way. And I love when you observe the progression, right? There's the poem that came out that was about self-love, right? And then it puts you into a process. And this is what the world does for us, right? It does this for us all the time. It's like we share something, right? And it isn't that we're out of integrity for sharing none of those things. It's that we share something and it's an expression that comes through. So sometimes we don't fully understand it. The human self puts words to why we're doing something, right? Like me running a leadership activation program, me running a retreat called embodiment as an example, right? We create these human constructs and words for why we're doing it. And then actually it's there. And what I'm starting to witness amongst myself and a lot of our close friends is that we do that as a statement to like, I want to step into the embodiment of this thing. Right.
It's like jumping in the pool and saying, I'm going to have to learn how to swim.
Exactly. You know, because the piece around kind of call it manifestation is that very often the universe is going to send us what we need to embody what we say we want, and often I believe from what I can see is about 80-90% of people receive the piece that's for them to become the vibrational match to what they're calling in, and as soon as it gets a little bit hard, they leave, they avoid, they go, oh, it's too hard, it's not for me, XYZ, all that kind of stuff, right? And I just want to honor you for that, because you went so deep into it and you told me some of the things you got up to. I'm like, wow, that's a whole new level. and it's almost like your days were like temple days constantly,
Well, let's like, so that, because we're referencing a conversation that people aren't aware of. I want to let people know what that is, because it ties into Jose
Totally.
just asked the question about like, how do you go deeper into the emotional experience? Like maybe you've gotten to a certain level, and that's where what you're speaking to is what I realized. I had done so much work. I had gone to Peru and sat with the shamans. I had done this, I had done that, but I had gone in for years, and yet I had hit a point where there was a threshold that I hadn't crossed, and I didn't know what to do. And so I simply, the way that I looked at it was, what am I telling everyone else to do? So just so people can understand how I arrived at it, I was saying, what am I telling everyone else to do? And what is the universe reflecting to me in my own life that is like my curriculum? And my message had become self-love. It had become, I was receiving messages every day ever since the poem "You Are Who You've Been Looking For" went viral. And I went, okay, let me just go deeper. Let me just go deeper into self-love. And so that looked like, I think I told you, like there was many days where I put in 4 hours of self-love practices before I even turned on my phone. 4 hours. There's specific days. I remember one in Montreal. I remember some in Venice Beach, where I woke up and I meditated, I journaled, I stretched, I danced, I took a bath, I dry brushed, I did infrared saunas, like whatever it was. It's not like I had this routine. It was what I was listening to my body and what it needed, but I was creating the space. And so to get to Jose's question about how to go deeper within it, in many ways, the exercises aren't a secret, right? It's not like they're a secret and you can't hear about what are the different exercises, but it's about, you want to go deeper, you get to create more space, and particularly more intentional space. And I remember one example, and I think I spoke to you about this, Jared, where I came home from dinner or something, and I was by myself in this place in California, and I sat down on the couch and I felt so much emotion moving through me. I wanted to scream, I wanted to cry, I wanted to do all this stuff at the same time, and I could just observe what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into the kitchen. I want to get sugary foods and things, and I just sat there and I closed my eyes and said, "You're going to feel all of this." And I sat there and I paid attention to the fact that my phone is right here right now, right? While I was in this meditation, I could see so clearly the phone, and I could, like, my body wanted to pick it up and get on social media, and I could see everything that was in the kitchen cabinet and all the food that I wanted to eat. And and all of the things that my mind was trying to tempt me with to not feel the discomfort. And I said, "You are not getting up. You are going to sit here." And I sat there for about 45 minutes before I hit the point where there was this realization. And anyone who's had plant medicine ceremonies around this can probably relate to this, where there was this moment of shift in me where there was I'll die here. Like, I'm just not getting up. I'm not getting up. I'm going to sit here until this is done. I am not going to give in to the part of me that wants to run. And the moment that commitment happened, and this is that plant medicine part, the moment the commitment really happened, the shift happened. And that shift went, now you know that anything you decide to do here is not running. You're no longer running from this emotion. You're willing to sit in it for as long as you need to. And at that point, it becomes masochistic. At that point, it becomes a punishment to just sit here in it without giving yourself a way to express. So now that you know you're not running from it, how do you want to move it? And I sat with that question and I went, I want to dance. And I put on music and I danced by myself in the living room for 20 minutes or whatever. But that's a tangible example of, I had dance, I had these things, but I had never put 4 hours and said, until you feel better this morning, like until you literally feel better. And if that takes however many hours, you're not turning your phone on. Until you are not going to run from this emotion, you are going to sit in it. And that's 45 minutes doing nothing but just sitting and feeling like shit. And I know that you've done that same thing. And I just wanted to ground it in for people. Like, create the space and sit in it and give yourself the tools and practice, but create the intentional space. And if you've been doing a 20-minute practice each day, what does an hour look like? What does an hour look like? That's a way of going deeper. And it is going to push you past the edges of the 20-minute comfort zone.
Yep. My story, very much the same. There's a fascinating thing here, and thank you for sharing that, because it's such a it is the recommendation that I give to people when they're in that space. And essentially, because for someone like yourself that's done so much work, right? You've done almost almost most of the things that are available to you, right? Whether it's iboga, whether it's ayahuasca, whether it's breath work, whether it's, hypnotherapy, timeline therapy, like you've done all the things.
Somatic sexual healing work, which we've both done, which is so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like we've gone to like those edges where breaking point, right? Like breaking point to the point where it's like you dismantled every part of who you are, your psyche, your body. You've let everything go, and what I loved, and this is also what I teach. Because when I first stepped into the coaching space about 3.5 years ago, for like the first kind of 18 months, our focus was like anxiety and depression. Like that was like the main thing that I focused on. When Abigail came in, we switched it to like leadership, but we were still attracting a lot of people. We still do sometimes, people that are navigating mental illness. And one thing that has been a great support is breathwork, and we've supported probably nearly 1,000 people to overcome mental illness in our journey, right? But there's this piece, and like even coming out of our retreats, one of the recommendations is, and we tell them like when they sign up, like 3 months in advance, it's like the month afterwards, the invitation is to create at least 2 hours, up to 4 hours a day of integration time. So set your life up so when you come home, you're not full of distractions. You can actually truly be in the process. And as you know, that's somatic sexual healing, and that's what actually taught it to me, because much like when I went through my PTSD and my healing and my depression, it was the exact same thing. I had a lot of money in the bank. I'd saved a lot of money. I had 6 figures in the bank, and I literally spent 9 months. I decided, because I'd had sex with this woman that I knew relatively well. There was absolutely nothing wrong with her. She was a beautiful person, really loving person. But what happened is I had sex with her, and as I woke up having her dreams. And what I mean by that, just saying her dreams, her memories. What I mean by that, so I woke up and she was still laying next to me from the night before. And I woke up and I was seeing myself as a little girl, right, like a 4 or 5 year old girl, talking to a mother. And I went onto her Facebook the next day, and the woman that I was seeing in that memory, which was her memory, I saw on her Facebook, and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, I've just connected to her memories. What the fuck? Right. And I was already deep in my practice. I was already doing kind of 2 to 3 hours in the day. And then that happened. And people had been saying to me, this is about 3.5, 4 years ago, people had already been saying like, sex is a very sacred act, and you're coming together with your energies and all these different elements, right? And when you kind of believe something, then you get a tangible experience and you're like, oh fuck, they're not joking. Like they're actually not joking. I then from that point took a vow of celibacy, and it was really relative to what you said around, because I used to have an addiction. Like back then, I was still navigating an addiction to porn, right? An addiction to porn, which addiction and depression are quite often very close to each other, right? So I was navigating my addiction to porn, and I'm like, okay, so that's just happened. Obviously, I'm more open than I realize I am. I'm committing to it. I didn't tell anybody. I'm committing to being celibate until further notice. That's all I said. No porn, no ejaculation. No, I wasn't even that sexually educated yet in the realms of channeling my sexual energy. All I knew was that I needed to stop that, to put myself through the process. And much like yourself, it's like this experience of like, okay, my brain is going, you should type in, XYZ and masturbate right now, right? And masturbation is not wrong, right? Masturbation, I just want to present that, it's not wrong, right? The self-pleasure and masturbation, none of them are actually wrong. It's more the fact that where is the inception of the idea coming from? What's the come from with it, right? What's the intention and why are you constantly doing it, right?
Especially, I want to add to this important piece, which is in an orgasm, your limbic brain is highly programmable, like highly programmable. So
yes.
the what you are taking in and who you're taking it in with, and what your intention is in a space of heightened sexual energy, and especially orgasm, is programming you. So just a aside, so that people realize how much of an impact.
Exactly, because it's very sensitive, right? Ultimate energy, it's like sexual energy, ultimate energy to rewire the brain and also to manifest, because the heightened emotion, you go into a gamma brain state often, especially in deeper self-pleasure practices. Anyway, I'll keep moving forward. So I went through that process, and in that container, my tools that I had was dance, breath work. I was really deeply into hot yoga, meditation, and also just sitting. Like I was practicing just being, like just not doing anything, right? And that was the biggest shift. It was like literally just being like, I don't care if I spend 5 hours today in ritual. I've just got no story around it, right? And I'd created so much space for myself that I could do that. And an invitation that I have for people, because I did this recently, right? Because everyone's saying they're too busy, right? But the thing that I hear more than, especially for people that haven't got kids, right? Especially if you don't have kids, people saying they're too busy. So I'm somebody that runs a 7-figure business. I have 3 different businesses that I'm running. I have a relationship. I have all these different things in my life, right? And I could be like, oh, I'm too busy, right? I'm too busy. At periods in my life, I've worked 14-hour days, still breathe every day, still meditate every day, still do yoga every day, and still trained at the gym every day. I've done all of those things in one day in the space of 17 hours, 7 hours a night. Right? I worked a 14-hour day. And something that I've done recently, because I caught myself going, I'm too busy, is I decided, I'm going to actually prove myself wrong that I'm not that busy. So I wrote down every single thing that I do in my day, everything, whether it's my rituals, whether it's my work, whether it's this business or that business, or to create community. I wrote down every single thing, and I exaggerated the time frames that I would need it to execute all the things, right? So I had extra 15 minutes to my breath, extra half an hour to my work with Create, an extra 2 hours to different windows, so it was like exaggerated. And then I worked out how many hours I sleep each night, which is an average of 8 hours and 18 minutes at the moment, right? That's what feels good at the moment. So I have 15 hours and 42 minutes of waking hours each day, and then I times that by 30 as an average, so 30 days in the month. And then I realized I had 462 hours. And when I calculated every single thing that I do, from rituals to eating to work to everything, I was at 220 hours. So I'm like, I have 242 hours of free time. So I did that. I worked out how much time I had, and I'm like, I have 240 hours a month to be deeper in my emotions and to create the future. Right? Now, depending on who you are, you may only have 50 of those hours. You may only have, if you have kids, you may only have, 50 or 100 of those hours, right? I've got a bit more because I don't have kids. However, the realization is that there's so much more time than you allow yourself to have. It's just the space that we're filling with distraction. And if we replaced our distractions with rituals, the game would change. If the whole world replaced the distractions with rituals and introspection and connecting to their body and asking themselves more effective questions, because in the midst of what Adam was saying is like, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to feel this. I'm not going anywhere, which takes discipline, which discipline is the bridge to self-love and self-worth. That discipline and that decision in every single moment to be like, I'm going to sit here. They're so much the same story. Like I would have that, I want to go masturbate, start typing it into the phone. I'm like, oh, stop. Nope, I don't do that anymore. Phone down, sit down. I used to take 15 deep breaths, sit in stillness, ask my body, what am I avoiding? This is how I created the intuitive activation, actually, just so you guys know. Those that have done the intuitive activation, I did that. That was the full expression of this practice of like deep listening to my body. It's like, what's actually here? Because when we breathe, we get out of the mind, right? We get out of the mind. And it's easy, especially for people like me and Adam, like we're very logical thinkers. And when you talk, it's like we can construct whole worlds with our brains, right? So for us, it's even more challenging to get into our body. And that's why breathwork is so effective, right? And within that, essentially what you're doing is you're creating the space to actually listen to what is actually for you, and what is it that you're avoiding. Because the other side of what you're avoiding is more of your expression, more of your liberation, more of your freedom, and more of just the fucking juiciness of life.
Where do you find the difference for you around distraction and play? Right? Because something that is really big for me, and I think I put out Art of Choosing Love episode out about this, is play as personal development. And the concept that I developed around this is that the idea of play, when you see kids playing and let their imaginations running wild and doing whatever and just letting themselves express and be, play doesn't necessarily have a purpose. There's not like I'm playing this game in order to do this thing. That's where it can become work or practice or whatever. But play, just for the sake of play, you're just doing it because you enjoy it. And it for adults in particular, the idea of playing and allowing ourselves to play brings up the resistance of the parts of us that don't feel worthy, or the parts of us that feel guilty, or the parts of us that feel like we have a responsibility to accomplish certain things or whatever. And so actually creating the space to play will bring up the parts of you that aren't a match to that. And so you don't have to go and seek out those parts. Just start playing. Start saying, I'm going to play more, and you're going to see the parts of you that are in resistance. And one thing that's for me in particular, so I don't know if I said this to you, but I've started to watch, finally sit down and watch The Last Airbender, the Avatar series, the anime series. And this is something that I've wanted to do for so long. I see Samsara celebrating. Yeah. And because they finally put it on Netflix, and I'm watching it. And the thing about it is crazy that I haven't watched the whole thing before, but I've always felt I can't remember the last time I sat down and really started watching a show. When I visited my parents, I watched the Michael Jordan documentary series. But to me, I was learning. I felt like this is the same as listening to a podcast. I'm learning from one of the greatest legends of all time. And but with Avatar, the Last Airbender, for me, this is my way of saying, and I kind of justify it too, because it's deeply woke and esoteric wisdom in it. So I kind of justify it. But my point is, I'm saying that this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for me to do something just because I enjoy it. I geek out on this stuff. I love it. It brings me back to the little kid that's watching cartoons. And I'm only 5 episodes in, and I'll sit there and I'll watch it and I go, oh, I could be playing the guitar right now, which is actually more taking me closer to, my desire to make music. Or I could be reading a book right now that has, and so for you, when you're referring to distractions and talking to someone like myself, where I'm wanting, distractions isn't the right word, but I'm wanting to alleviate this need to always fill every minute with productivity. What is your balance around that?
Yeah, totally. I love what you shared. So what's landing and my version of that, and I actually need to start watching The Last Airbender. I keep hearing about it as well. So
you get to, bro.
I have these moments where I'm like, babe, you know what I'm going to do tonight? I'm watching the Avengers. Right? I'm going to be on the TV upstairs. I'm just letting you know. I tell her like 7 hours in advance. I'm going to be watching Avengers tonight. Because what that gives me access to, right? We're doing things to give ourselves access to it, right? Whether it's making money, whether it's playing, we do it to give us access to a different part of our being in our life, right? So to distinguish distraction, I think I've definitely gone through periods of my life. I remember having like Netflix binging about 6 years ago, and I would watch superhero movies all day, right? I would literally watch like Arrow, and then I'd watch The Flash, and then I'd watch the Avengers, and I'd watch Superman.
I've added the hours up, Jared. Sorry to interrupt you, but I've spent 1 week of my life watching Grey's Anatomy. That's how many hours of Grey's Anatomy that I've watched. I added it up. 1 week of my life on this planet has been spent watching Grey's Anatomy.
That's dope. I love that. I would say I've spent 1 week watching just Avengers Endgame. Just the same movie over and over again. But what's fascinating and what I want to speak to in that is like, so if we're doing something like that, because that basically what that does is esoteric wisdom, right? And I can imagine the cartoon brings in the little boy, right? It brings the little boy out to play, and it's like, oh, I can do that. I can be that. Like I fully step into the I can be as powerful as Superman moment, right? Like I fucking brainwash myself with that stuff all the time, right? Just for fun. But what I look at is there's two parts to it. Very often, for those of us that are deep in the work, we actually need something like that every so often to give us a fucking break, to make us go, okay, I'm just like letting go. Like, yeah, I'm always in the fucking work. Yeah, give me a break. I want to just fucking do something fun for me, right? Because it's like, oh, you shouldn't do that. You should read a book. And you should study. And you should XYZ. And you should be meditating more. And it's just like, fuck that shit. I'm gonna watch Avengers or The Last Airbender, right? And I think what that does is it kind of breaks the seriousness of our life, right? And it takes the heaviness away. And if we're in a space of heaviness too often, we're going to procrastinate and we're going to distract ourselves with doing too much social media or doing things we shouldn't be doing. So I think actually intentionally going, you know what? For 6 hours a week, I watch cartoons or whatever the thing is for us, that's for me. Awesome. If it's going to the beach and playing and doing whatever with your friends, awesome. One thing that I've looked at personally is like, how do I integrate play into my life? I know that when me and you have conversations like on the phone at them, like our little boys get really excited together. I talk about the future. I'm like,
we're talking about business. We're talking about designing businesses together and partnerships and things. And you said after, I think we were on the phone for an hour talking about business and different things. And then you go, I love that your little boy comes out in these conversations. And it's like, to me, we've taken the Legos and we're applying it to regular life. Like it's all the same, like the building blocks energetically. And that's the thing about one of the things I'm so excited about with Create Premium is we are diving so deep in those classes. I know I've heard that feedback about your embodied business class. And I know I've gotten it from my roundtable classes where we're going deep into the energetic understanding of it, so that building your business and 7 figures, 8 figures, and creating more impact and whatever is like playing with Legos. When you understand the pieces, it really is a Lego design architecture thing that's really fun. I love it. I geek out on it.
Yeah, and something that I would love to totally give you credit for as well in this moment is there's the inception of, I remember being at an event, it must have been 2 years ago. It was one of the second or third times that we'd connected and caught up and hung out in person. But it was an event at Akasha. If you remember that event at Akasha, Hart was there, Ryan was there. I believe Matt was there as well. Sorry, Ryan wasn't there.
Yeah,
Ryan
he got deported from Bali. Yeah.
He got deported. I remember because there was the ongoing joke, like we kept on talking about meeting Ryan and never got to meet Ryan.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there was basically a permission slip you gave. There was about 100 of us there. I remember you talking about how we get to perceive everything we do, whether it's creating a meditation, creating a coaching program, whether we're writing, whether we're painting, like every single day, perceive the things that you're doing in your life as a creative task, as art, right? And what the thing that I love about that is that is a bridge to giving us access to being like the little boy and little girl when we're creating things, right? Because what unfolds for Abby and I, like if we literally will be in cocoons. Sometimes we take little like microdoses of plant medicine, or sometimes we're deep in cacao, whatever it is, and we go into like creative cocoons. And that's literally my little boy and her little girl are creating these like 6-figure programs that are impacting thousands of lives. Like that's literally what we do. Right. And it's like the whole time, like, oh, that's the thing. Like we get really in it and excited, and we kind of integrate the play into it. And creativity, I feel, is when we can see it as if all we're really doing, like for me and you in this moment, and for the rest of our community, and for everyone else that's around us, if you let that kind of sign up for this, it's like whether you're building a 7-figure, 8-figure business, whether you're wanting to impact, as our friend Nicole Gibson wants to impact 350 million people, getting to see it like a game, like I'm just playing a game. Like this is just a big game. Like because the game takes the intensity of expectation of like I have to do what I said I would do, otherwise I'm failed or I'm wrong. The playfulness brings in like, yeah, I want to make $1 million. Yeah, how do I play? And the way that I'm allowing my brain to witness that is I'm just seeing numbers. It's just numbers. There's numbers. The numbers in a phone. They go, oh, there's $1 million there. Awesome. I'm speaking to my account. I'm like, oh, there's $1 million there. Like bringing that playfulness through is what makes it more effortless. Right? Mm-hmm. It takes the kind of this like
takes
heavy
the contraction out. It takes the contraction out. It actually opens up the energetic of receptivity, which is what needs to be 100%. In place in order for it to come. You have to become receptive to it. But the moment that you feel you have to force it, it's literally like, think about trying to push a weight. You're literally contracting your muscles because you have to force it, which is creating less space to receive the additional energy that you're calling in to begin with.
100%. And you may be a full, like rigid business head. I'm going to make $1 million this way. I got a business plan. This is how it has to go, like this, and X, Y, Z, and boom, 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 boom. But very often, because there's no space for play, you'll get the $1 million, but you won't have the excitement, the fulfillment, or the playfulness, and you'll shut down the little boy and little girl that wants to express itself in that, and also do that to the rest of the people that are involved. Because to make $1 million, you can do it by yourself. However, generally for most people, it takes a team of people to make $1 million, right? So you're shutting out everything else out of your life, and if you're taking that energy into your business, you're also going to take the same energy into your relationship, right? Which is a big thing. If people start chasing money or their vision, sometimes they avoid all of their relationships, which can be effective for a period of time. However, there's people that are close to you that you want to keep those relationships there and nurtured and loving and fun. And if you've got this energy like, babe, I'm going to make $1 million this year. Now you're like, yeah. So how we're going to do is we're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to play, right? That changes it from, so babe, the plan is we have to hit this target by this date, this target by this date, and I want to make this amount of money. I have to hire this person here. There's two different perspectives, right? Energetics that are with it. And I believe fundamentally when it comes to things like manifestation, energetics and the quantum field, it's responsive to the energetic and the vibration of play is a higher vibration than the vibration of seriousness and structure, and it has to be this way, So yeah, and from what I can see, and I know you've done a very similar thing, like it doesn't actually need to take that long to make a lot of money or a lot of impact. It just doesn't.
Tomorrow is my roundtable, and just for the premium members in here, tomorrow's roundtable, I'm telling the story of how I made $1 million in 5 days, and I'm going to take people through that story and give them the understanding of that. You know what I mean? Like to understand the energetics of how that happened. And what's funny about that, Jared, is making my second million has been far harder. Well, actually, that's not true. That's actually not true. Let me correct that so that everyone knows. It's felt like it because the first one was the result of probably 7 years of becoming a match. You know what I mean? Like it was 7 years of becoming a match in order for that to happen. This next one will not take me 7 years. It won't. So in a way, it's happening faster, but I'm doing it the energetics are different because how I'm going about it and doing it are completely different. And yet the fundamentals are the same. And that's what I love about you and Abigail and the way that you guys run your business is it's the same as myself. It is, let's look at the spiritual laws that we believe in about how reality works. Let's look at the understanding of energetics that apply to emotion, that apply to sex, that apply to money, that let's look at these things with that foundational understanding. And then like Legos, let's build it from that space. And I think that when it comes to money in particular, people throw all of their energetic understanding out the window and think that somehow they got to go into the old models or whatever when it comes to money in particular, which is really an interesting space to be. But I want to acknowledge you and Abigail, because when we've had our conversations about the sandboxes that we're going to play in together, that those conversations, the ease of those conversations has centered around it's all the energetics of money. What I want people to really get from this: if you want more money, it is more valuable, for, in my opinion, for you to understand the energetics of money than to understand the funnels and the different things for how to make it. Because then you're just going to have to replicate those funnels every single time, instead of being able to take the energetics, which you can apply to every area of your life, because this is all energy.
Totally. So yeah, on that, we'd made $500,000 before we'd spent any money on marketing. Just want to say that out loud. Limitless Love had made $500,000, like $530,000 before we spent any money on marketing. We'd done photo shoots, but nothing else. That was it, right? It was the organics of and the energetics of building relation and connection with people far outweighed, because then there was some of our friends that were kind of starting at a similar point, like, oh, I need to have the website, I need to have this, and it's sourcing everything outside of yourself for your success. And what happens is we're in a space right now where a lot of what's on social media and Facebook ads are telling you need this, you need that, you need a website, you need that to succeed. And I'm sitting there going, no, you don't. We literally, and this is it's gotten to the point where actually I'm like, we probably need a website, but we've made multiple seven figures over the last 2.5 years, right? We still don't have a website. Now, I would say, from a business standpoint, we probably should get a website pretty soon. But I'm not rushing to get it. I'm like, yeah, it'll happen when it's meant to happen. The person will come into our vortex and like, yeah, now is the time. But I could confidently say to you that I would make, multiple seven figures in the next 12 months without a website. And there's no need, or Facebook ads or any of that kind of stuff. Like I wouldn't need that, because the energetics are so much more potent. It's less about the quote unquote structures that we think we need. It's more about what vibration are you allowing yourself to hold? Who are you deciding to be? And also a really poignant piece as well. And the New Earth has been a topic of conversation with so many people is for so many years, I've been hearing people say, and cool kids and light workers say, oh, we're raising the vibration of the planet. And I'm like, raising the vibration of the planet. I'm like, Mother Earth is a 6 sextillion megaton battery, which is a 6 with 21 zeros next to it, right? She is raising her frequency, not us. And she's raising her frequency, and it's about us attuning to her frequency, right? It's about attuning to her frequency to then bring in the new Earth. And that's what's actually happening. It isn't about us raising the vibration of the planet, right? Yes, we are, but really it's attunement and working in a way that aligns to the frequency of her. And that's what the new Earth is. Because for the last, I don't even know how many years, 250, 300 years, we've been going against Mother Earth, right? We've created businesses, corporations, and things that go against her. Now she's fucking pissed off. She's like, if you guys don't rise with me, everything will crumble. So she's like, I'll just crumble everything then. Fuck y'all. I'll crumble everything that you've built. Yeah. I'll burn it to the ground instead of happening in 20 times. I'll burn everything you thought you knew. All the structures, the economies, I'll burn it all to the ground. So hopefully you listen. And as people are awakening, it becomes easier to connect with her energy. And then we create business through that. People that I'm seeing, like yourself, Adam, like Marcy, like Nicole Gibson, like many of our close friends, right? The people that are experiencing these things are the ones that are tuned to the frequency of Mother Earth. They've been using and integrating the New Earth codes, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 years ago for this past period of time, and they're working with it with a different blueprint to what has been used. And this energy, like Mother Earth's energy, when it runs through you, right? And this sounds really fucking woo, but it's the truth, right? In the depths of my meditation, I saw this experience after like 60 minutes of breathing. I just sitting there in integration, and I saw different people that are doing extremely incredible things right now. People like Michael Beckwith, right? His perspective, what's happening in the world, is so centered and so grounded and so open and there's very little projection or reaction in what he's sharing, right? And I just saw like the energetics pulsing out of the earth's core, right? The frequencies of Mother Earth pulsing through her core, through all the earth, through the mycelium, through the clay, through the crystals and the stone. And it's like vibrating underneath people and entering through the base of their feet. And it's becoming who they are, right? And they're acting through the lens of this. This is a visualization that I had. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. Just the thought of this is extraordinary, right? And to know that there are people, there are quote unquote light workers, leaders, spiritual leaders, whatever you want to call them, that operating from this frequency, they're receiving, call it codes from Mother Earth and listening, right? Because becoming embodied or being in our body, we have access to Mother Earth more effectively. Our connection to her is more, it's more in integrity when we're in our bodies, right? Because we can actually feel it. So yeah, just a really interesting thing. And you're also someone I would deem, Adam, for the last kind of 4 years. And my experience of you is you've been operating from the new earth for a very long time, right? And I think the world, the reason why create is so important, right? And what we're doing with create and all the things that we're all kind of creating and your poetry, which I know you've got some pretty cool stuff that's about to release, is so important. Whereas as people are releasing, as people are letting go, as 20 to 30 to 40% of extra of humanity are going to be waking up in this time because they're going through the dark night of the soul. They're either going to choose to stay or they're going to choose to come with the rest of humanity that are evolving. The leaders, the teachers that have been embodying this for a long time will be the leaders of the future. It's just the way that it will be. Even Gary Vaynerchuk said it 4 years ago. He said, if you're not in the work, if you're not doing the actual work on yourself, and he's not someone that I would call overly spiritual or quote unquote deep in the work, but he's like, if you're not working to become a better person, you'll get left behind. You just will. If you're not working to become the best version of yourself and the most exceptional version of yourself, and you're settling for anything else that's your greatness, right? You will literally get left behind. It's as simple as that. So the piece here is, and what I want to really share is that the importance of allowing ourselves to be in the work. And first of all, if you've been in the work for quite a while, give yourself a pat on the back. Be like, yo, I did my thing. Right? I did my thing for humanity, because you have. Just who you've been over the past 3 and 4 and 5 years, however long you've been deep in your own personal self-discovery, you've impacted humanity already, right? You've impacted humanity already. I can reload that land, because what we think we're doing or we're actually doing are two very different things. Even for those of us that are really connected, right? I'm very connected. I have many kind of spirit guides and that kind of stuff. I'm very connected. However, an experience that I had in Egypt, it was very poignant. It was in the King's Chamber. I know you've been to the same place, Adam, as well. It was in the King's Chamber. We actually need to go together, actually. That would be a really, really dope trip. In the King's Chamber.
Let's do a create retreat to Egypt.
Done. We hired the Great Pyramid, right? So in the King's Chamber by ourselves for 2 hours, myself, Abby, Marcy Locke, and our Egyptian guide. And we go into there with the intention of ceremony, right? We're breathing, we're chanting, we're doing all the fucking totally full out there woo-woo things. And as it was unfolding, it hit me like a ton of bricks, right? All these different angels are speaking to me, all this stuff was happening all at once. And then there's this moment of stillness, and this vision that I saw was I don't know if it was a past life. I don't have the the desire for validation to say it was me, but I saw this vision, and I was in the body of this ancient being that was standing before 1 million people, right? Standing before 1 million people. And the setting was very golden and yellow, and it was set in Egypt, right? And this voice was just speaking to me, and it's like, you think you know how much impact you've made, but you've had no idea the level to which the work that you have done has impacted humanity. You will never be able to truly understand or fathom it. And that's also perfect. And I'm just sitting here going, holy shit. And it was probably one of the most humbling moments, because it started to show me all these events that happened in my life, all these people that I impacted. And it dropped me into the space where I actually got really deeply emotional of like, holy shit. We think we know, right? We may, like, I could say to you, like, we've impacted tens of thousands of people. I've supported over 1,000 people to overcome mental illness, all those kinds of things. But what about the 1,000 people that then touch 1,000 people? That's 1,000,000 people. Right. And then I started to expand my vision of like, what are we actually doing here? Like the Create community, there's 3,200 people in the Create community as an example. If those 3,200 people impact 1,000 people, and they may be small ways by random acts of kindness, it may be feeding the homeless, it may be creating programs that change the world, it may be becoming a yoga teacher that does festivals, it could be anything, right? Like the impact that we're here to make just by being the embodiment of our true self is what actually changes the world.
It's a mic drop.
Yeah.
I can't even, I don't even want to attempt to follow up or say anything about that. That was an epic transmission, brother. Really appreciate that. And yeah, I encourage people to lean in to the understanding that the most selfless thing you can do is be selfish enough to work on yourself. It is the best thing that you can do for this planet, is to learn how to be you. That means learn how to be with all the human parts of you. That means learning how to be with your emotions. That means learning how to be with the energetics of how this whole world works, learning how to do that. And it also means learning how to express the part of you that's beyond human, the part of you that is an infinite spiritual being that has been here before and will be here again, and that you can tap into and turn into expression, whatever that looks like. What is your unique expression? And if you can learn to master the part of you that's here and that is human through the expression of the part of you that's so much more than human, you will have unlocked the avatar, last airbender within yourself, and become this powerful nodal point of what's possible for people who are either spiritually bypassed to the point where they've disconnected from their humanity and they only want to exist in the spiritual realms and meditate and plant medicine, etc., or the people who are so caught up in the hamster wheel of the human emotion and struggle that they've forgotten that they're so much more than that. And so, Jared, thank you for bringing that all full circle there. This has been an epic conversation. This is not where I thought we were going to go at all, but every time we get on the phone, bro, I just love letting it go. There's something I want to talk about here, because it is a collaboration. We're teaming up, Create and Limitless Love for Unify, and this is an example of something that there are thousands of people already signed up to do, and this, I'm so passionate about it because it's a way of bringing ceremony in a safe container. Something that we talked about was the willingness to go deep and be intentional with feeling emotions. And for a lot of people, the reason why that hasn't happened is because they haven't had the safety to do it. And so one thing that you and Abigail do really, really well is create those safe spaces as facilitators. And so if you want to mention, there's going to be an email going out tomorrow about this to the Create community. But if you want to mention to people listening to the podcast or watching the YouTube video, what is this Unify experience and why it's such a powerful opportunity for real transformation in community?
Yeah, totally. And yeah, I'll speak to this in a way that ties into what we've just spoken about, right? Because what I'm witnessing is even some of my most involved friends right now, which I understand and I have full compassion for, right? Is a lot of the world right now is in reactivity. People aren't responding to what's unfolding; they're reacting to what's unfolding. And what I love about what we've created with this Unify experience is the main intentions are listen, learn, heal, feel. So it's a container that goes for 21 days, right? It's going to be a deep dive into coming into a space of such deep listening. We're doing a 3-day water fast, right? Which means for 3 days straight, we're just drinking water. leading up to it, we're going to be doing a really well-structured diet. Abby and I have facilitated, over 1,000 people in like water fasts in the past, right? So it's been a tool that we've used in our online coaching programs, both paid and free in the past. And it's been a tool that, people that did it 2.5 years ago, you still come to me in the street and go, that 3-day water fast we did in like 2017 has changed my relationship with food forever. Like, it's changed everything, right? So we'll be bringing, the depths of the science to what it is, right? It's going to reset the immune system. It's going to boost human growth hormone. It's going to support the gut health. It's going to do all these incredible things for our physical body health, which a lot of us need right now. A lot of us have been binge eating and emotional eating, including myself, right? Like, I've got no judgment. I've been emotional. It's been a lot. Like, this last 2-3 months has been a lot. I've been emotional eating.
I had so much chocolate yesterday.
And that's what this serves to be, right? It's a reset. And within Unify, what we've done is we structured in a way we have different guests in, because when we do a water fast, we drink nothing but water for 3 days. We're purging, we cleanse. Our body goes through a cycle. The spiritual aspect of it is your body goes through a cycle of transformation. It completes different cycles of trauma. What we have done in the past is we then facilitate breath work, shadow work, movement. And what we have for this time is we've got, our body dance teachers, somatic practitioners. We have breath work. We have Andrew Seeley doing yoga. We have people like Adam and Nicole Gibson and Marcy Locke coming in to deliver frequencies and new earth codes on the tail end of it. So we're basically we're purging our privilege, our quote unquote our privilege, because so many of us are privileged. We're releasing all of the things in our diet that aren't a vibrational match to where we're headed. And then we're going to be stepping into a 3-day water fast in a really safe and healthy way. And then from there, we're going to be basically re-imprinting our system. We're going to be letting go of the trauma, the guilt, the shame, because everyone's experiencing this, like, oh, I should do this, and I'm Caucasian, so I should do that, or I'm Indigenous, so I should do this. And it's like, it's all of this like confusion, and everyone's so confused. No one's taking any actual action, right? There's very little people actually taking tangible action that's actually making a change right now. So it's like coming into a deep place of stillness, clearing out all of the bullshit, all the guilt, all the shame, all of the parts that are the older, that aren't who you are, who aren't who you're becoming. And we're going to reinstate it with experiences. We're going to have vocal activation, sound healing. We're going to have Adam Rolla and Nicole Gibson, all these different people, myself and Abby, sharing some of the new earth codes coming out of the experience, so that people can be a full integration in preparation for where the world's headed. And the piece that I'm the most excited for is we're going to remove all of the distraction and come into such a deep place of stillness. Maybe we should make The Last Airbender a part of the curriculum, actually. That could be really cool.
It's a lot. There's a lot. It's many, many hours of it. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah. But so that's what Unify is. 21-day experience. It starts on the 29th of June. It is for coaches, for leaders, for facilitators, anyone that's going to be stepping into powerful leadership. If you're an artist, if you're a conscious entrepreneur, if you're somebody that wants to truly thrive beyond this time, right? As the dust begins to settle, and obviously there's more to come. However, if you want to have the level of embodiment to hold yourself amongst the chaos and be responsive, not reactive, then this is for you. So I'm excited because the breakthroughs are going to be extraordinary. They literally are.
You sent me the outline of it, and I went, oh wow, this is a 21-day ceremony experience. There's a lot that's going into this, and just so everyone's aware of how big this is going to be and how much of an impact it can actually have, is there are already over 7,000 people signed up already, and it hasn't even started yet. And my encouragement is not only is this for Create, where we're partnering, but like, I want everyone listening to this on the podcast, I want everyone here in the Create community, enroll your friends and family. Make this something that you can do together. Just say, hey, do you want to do this thing with me, and be a part of it together and create a powerful invitation? Because I believe by the time this thing launches, we will have more than 10,000 people involved. And so we talked about the impact of 1,000 people impacting 1,000 people. Imagine 10,000 people going through a 21-day thing together, and what's possible on the tail end of that. And so I want to enroll all of you in seeing this. There's a reason why Jared and Abigail and I decided to partner on this, because this can make a massive amount of impact and give people a chance to reset. Think about like all of the stuff that has been happening on this planet for so long. All of the people who've never done a water fast, have never thought about purging out all that they've been carrying, all of that trauma, all of the emotions, all of that things, to have that many people in a safe space be able to go through something like that. I'm so excited. And so thank you for creating it. Thank you for partnering with myself and create on this. I'm so excited for this thing to start.
Totally, yeah, and I'll just add one thing, and definitely it's something to like enroll the people closest to you, because it'll make it easier, especially for water fasts. If the people closest to you are doing it with you, it becomes easier, right? Obviously, you have the accountability of the big group as well, but the more people around you that are in your environment that are doing it with you, it's going to make it a lot easier. And someone asked me the other day, because they know that our company values are, and it's the same, like that's the same as create, which is deliver outrageous value. And someone asked me, how much do you think that this program is actually worth? I'm like, oh, and I always take a moment to breathe and connect. I'm like, probably $3,500. Like with the level to which I know we're going to show up in this container and the value that we're going to be giving in this container, like probably about $3,500. That would be my baseline, right? So yeah, and this is what we do. We absolutely love, like we are so abundant. We have the ability and the access to do these things for free. And that's a really great thing about, building a relationship with the frequency of abundance, where you learn how to fill your cup so much you can show up full power for humanity, impact 10,000 people at one time for free. It's worth $3,000, but it's like, and this is for the people.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is that abundance frequency where there is no lack and it is giving. And that's the basis of your business. It's the basis of mine. It's the basis of create premium. You know what I mean? Like
I had a
friend today.
That's why we're friends.
He asked me about create premium, and he said, why, what are you charging? It is like, what? And he said, bro, for one session in a coaching package with you is more than $2,000. For a single phone call is more than $2,000. And he goes, you're doing 4 calls in a month, and then all these other facilitators are doing 4 calls every month for this. And I said, yeah, because at the end of the day, I believe it is all energy. And if we can impact, that will raise the whole vibration of everything, which means more prosperity for everyone, more abundance for everyone. That is what Together We Rise is all about. Is like, this is something that I believe so wholeheartedly in, and I know that you do. And it's been such a pleasure getting to drop in with you and share your wisdom and the massive amount of mic drops that you had. Let people know your social media and where they can find out more about you. I know that you don't have a website for your business, as you said, but like, let them know where they can find out more from you.
Yeah, it's really, really simple. We just started a new Instagram handle for Limitless Love, and it's called We Are Limitless Love. So at We Are Limitless Love for that. It's literally only started just recently, so the followers are quite small, and we're starting it kind of with a clean slate. And then my personal one is just Jared Grantham, so JaredGrantham. And that's the best places to find me. Instagram and Facebook as well. Probably more Instagram because it's a bit easier and less clunky. And you can find out all the things we're doing. We share a lot about Unify on the We Are Limitless Love page, so you can find more information there as well. And I'm sure you probably put in the show notes wherever else as well if I give you the link as well.
There'll be an email going out with the Unify link for people to sign up tomorrow as well.
There you go. Yeah. So make sure if you do sign up, you register, and you also join the Facebook group as well, because the juice is going to be in the actual Facebook group. It's going to be a big container. It's going to be powerful. So I'm excited. And yeah, thank you for having me, brother. It's been fun. And yeah, I love that little boys get to continue to play together. This is epic.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying yes. Thank you, everybody who's been here live asking epic questions. I can already see a bunch of people went and signed up as we were speaking for that Unified container. So I will be seeing a lot of you in there. Everybody who's listening to this or watching the YouTube replay, thank you for being a deep diver. Thank you for being a part of this. I love each and every one of you so much. Jared, love you, bro. Everybody, I want to remind you that always, in always, you are seen, you are heard, and you are loved. Have a really beautiful rest of your day.